Can a small farm succeed in this day and age? Well, we're going to talk to a farmer who lives and succeeds off of 5 acres farming in Iowa. It's a great episode of the Business of Agriculture. Before we hop into this episode of the Business of Agriculture, a question for you about the aspirations you have for your business within agriculture. Do you have capital requirements, but you're not exactly fitting within the template of the local bank? No problem. Harvest Returns can help you get the funding you need to expand and grow your agricultural business. Chris Rowley assembled 18,000 investors, and with their money, does creating financing options to help you grow and expand. Maybe you're a specialty meat processing business, or you're in a mushroom business, or anything in between. Harvest Returns can help. Go to harvestreturns.com. That's www.harvestreturns.com to learn more about how you can get the money you need to grow your agricultural operation today. Hey there, welcome to another fantastic episode of the Business of Agriculture. Got a great one for you today. His name is Steve Strasheim. Twisted River Farm is the name of the operation. It's in North Iowa, not too far from the Minnesota border. Keep up a little bit on social media. We have some common circles. And I said, I don't want you to come on here and just talk about direct-to-consumer because I've covered that quite a bit. We know that there's this direct-to-consumer business model. We want to make sure that we cover it a little bit so you understand how it works. But the more important thing here is this is a kid that was raised in Montana and a sugar beet background, and now lives off of 5 acres of specialty crop, mostly direct-to-consumer, all direct-to-consumer, I believe. He's going to explain all that. He's going to tell us about the genesis. So Mr. Strasheim, I think I got that mostly right. 5 acres. 5 acres.
How is that possible, right?
That's going to be the question. I mean, I get asked, by the way, somebody asked me a couple of years ago in a common circle, we were at lunch, Damian, you're an ag person. Now, can a small farm even make it anymore? And I said, what's that mean? First off. Secondly, I think you're saying this because you heard on MSNBC or read in the New York Times that, only factory farms make it. So it was obvious you had been programmed by media to ask that question. I said, so I know you've been programmed to be told that the answer is no. No, in fact, we're taking all the small farmers out and shooting them in a firing squad. I mean, what inflammatory bullshit did this guy want to hear? I don't know. Right. But right. And also I said, well, what does making it look like? What does succeed look like? You know what? Mid-sized farms didn't make it. When I was growing up, farms that were 800 acres and milked 80 cows were more than small farms back then. They were very much mid-sized to upper-sized back then. They didn't make it. So the question was, what's small? Doing what? What's succeed? What's make it look like? And I'm like, well, if you want to have 5 acres, the one thing I know for sure, Mr. Strasheim, you're not going to go out there and grow commodity grain, corn and soybeans on 5 acres and somehow expect that the guy down the road that's farming 5,000 acres is going to have the same cost structure as you. So you got to specialize. So take me from the beginning to now and tell me what better start with what the operation looks like now.
Current day, we're right at 5 acres. We just scaled up this year. We were fortunate enough to, we're in the process of buying this, right at 5 acre piece of land. Our history, we started from nothing, just a dream in the, cloud in the sky, pull it out. And we really started on a lot smaller, scale than we are even now. We started really with like a small little hobby backyard garden. And I was watching this, stuff on YouTube about how, backyard farming and stuff like that, because, growing up in Montana, my background in sugar beet farming, there was no chance I was ever going to be that kind of farmer. Like just our family structure, the way the land, all that wasn't ever even a possibility in my mind.
Is that because you didn't want to do it or because the capital? Because if you're talking commodity, all of it, production, it generally favors capital, which generally favors then I was kind of born into this and I'm going to take over this thing. That's what you're talking about?
Yep. So when I grew up on the sugar beet farm, it was my grandpa's land. Grandpa and grandma owned it. My uncle farmed with him. I was just the, thumbhead kid that, got pushed to go pick up irrigation tubes and push a shovel once in a while and drive the defoliator tractor at harvest time. And, just didn't really ever see a real future in that for myself. So I went off to college in Fargo, North Dakota, and never really looked back. I never really wanted to be a farmer.
By the way, for you people that don't get to North Dakota the way I do all the time. Fargo, when he says went to college in Fargo, he assumes that you all know that means North Dakota State.
North Dakota. Yeah.
North Dakota State. That's the Bison who routinely are in the finals for the division. What is it? Division One AA or Division One
Yep.
FBS
Yep.
class.
Yeah. They've been good. Real good.
So you went to Fargo and got your degree in.
Just business management, minor in accounting, about the most worthless piece of paper I've ever spent $40,000 on, really.
But you know how to do a balance sheet. It's not worthless because you know how to balance your checkbook. You know how to get yourself around a P&L statement.
Yeah. But, I came out of that era where, if you don't go to college, you're going to work at McDonald's, and
that's
you
not
need that
true.
piece of paper. And I'm 46 years old. No one's ever asked to see that piece of paper. So that's my gripe about college. But I didn't want to go back home. So I kind of was really willing to do just about anything. So I ended up meeting the right guy at the wrong time and ended up with a job in minor league hockey for a few years and working on the business side. He was looking for a guy that could sell and do some promotions and stuff. And I've never done that, but I can sure try.
But that's not in Fargo. Was that in Fargo? No.
That was in Fargo, yeah. So I was there for about 10.
You were selling sponsorships for the Fargo minor league hockey team.
Yep, the Jets. Rest in peace.
Got it.
Yeah, so I did that, and that line of work actually took me to southern Minnesota and then ultimately North Iowa. So that's how I ended up in Iowa. It was actually through hockey. And then got out of that and got a civilian job and just doing some sales for a local company in town. And that's when I discovered local food and just really got excited about just not so much the food aspect. I was really intrigued by the economics of it. Like, I was so used to, big equipment, big acres, I never had any concept of farmer's market or any direct to consumer. Like I didn't even realize you can sell stuff to your neighbor. Like I didn't even know that was even an option for farmers. And so when I kind of discovered that, I was just really like, wow, this is really cool. And dug into just how does this work from an economic standpoint? Like, can you even make money doing that? And so then my wife and I started searching it out, like we want to find some local stuff. So we started going to a local farmer's market. And one of the things we couldn't really ever find was local chicken. And I had heard how great it was, read and saw videos on YouTube about how much, you could take the Pepsi challenge with local raised chicken versus the store-bought stuff. And we couldn't really find it. And we didn't have any land or anything like that. So
You're usually like two kids living in a normal house in town or something.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. Small little 700 square foot house, big, had a big backyard, but it was pitched down to the river. So you couldn't do anything. There was no room for a garden or anything like that. It was really heavily wooded and beautiful little spot, but wasn't set up to start a farm.
All right. So tell me how you get to the farm. When did you start this farming thing?
So my in-laws have an acreage about 20 minutes from here and mostly rented out to the neighbor. He cut some hay off of it and run some soybeans on it every few years. So I begged my father-in-law, hey, I wanted to raise some chickens. And he kind of looked at me with an eyebrow raised like, what are you talking about, chickens? And I said, well, we've been kind of reading up on this stuff. I want to raise some chickens, some meat chickens. So he said, no, don't. I'm not, no. And I kind of begged him for a little while. And finally, he kind of relented. He says, you know what? Just do it behind the barn where nobody can see it and just raise your damn chickens. And so okay, now I'm in business here. So, and it wasn't even about a business. We just wanted to try some chickens.
Yeah,
so
right. You wanted to raise some chickens.
Yeah, we just wanted to try this stuff. So anyway, sent off for some chicks at Hoover's Hatchery, which is just straight down the road in Rudd here, and got my chicks and ran 100 of them. Thought, I've never even touched a chicken in my life. We're probably going to kill we'll maybe have 4 to 6 of them left. I'm sure they're all going to die because I don't know. At first, I read some Joel Salatin books and watched some videos and did all that shtick. And we were actually pretty successful with it. And my wife started putting some pictures on Facebook and all of her friends. And, she's from the area here. And all our friends were like, "Oh, wow, that's really cool. If you got some extra, I'll take them." And so that's when the kind of entrepreneurial light bulb started to flicker a little bit. And so we processed them at a place down the road. I couldn't talk her into butchering them, so we had to take them someplace.
Right.
And so I didn't have cages or anything like that. So I threw them in the back of my pickup and I put a piece of tarp, tarp
Yeah.
over the bed.
Yep.
And down the road, we went to the processor and we got 92 or something like that processed. And by the time we got through the little order list that we had accumulated, we literally had like 4 or 6 of them left. And I didn't even care that we hardly got any. I was just so excited that we sold them all and actually made some money off of it that I said, we're doing this again next year. And that's really how I got into local food and back into farming. And by the second year, I was all in. I wanted to expand and actually make it into more than a hobby. And but I knew the economics that it was never going to be a full-time job because we ran 100 chickens that first year. The next year we ran like 200 or doubled it or something like that. We did it for 4 years and we ended up getting up to about 1,500 chickens, all direct marketed through Facebook, which I don't know if you can even do that now, but just took pre-orders on Facebook and moved them all. And
So
yeah.
that's cool. You're buying your grain, and so were they any better than store bought?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I loved it. Customers loved it. I had old ladies that would come and, they'd buy a couple and, oh gosh, I haven't tasted chicken like this since I was a kid. And yeah, people really loved it.
Okay, so I can get behind that. So
Yeah.
take me then. This was how long ago?
So that we started that first group in 2014. So fast forward to about 2016, 17. By that time, I'm all in on the idea of I want to be a farmer and I want to do this. And I kind of wanted to be a livestock guy. We're a garden farm today, but that wasn't even on my radar at that time.
Uh-huh.
So I was looking for ideas of like, what else could we be doing besides these chickens to like get me up to a place where I could even think about doing this full time. That's all I wanted to do is just do this full time. And that's when I stumbled upon some YouTube guys that were market gardening is what we call sort of the style of farming that we do, where they were tilling up their backyards and their neighbors' backyards and growing high value vegetables and doing $100,000, $150,000 in gross sales off of 2 backyards or 3 backyards. And I thought, now that sounds like a full-time salary. Let's look at doing that. And so that's how I got my foot into like the market gardening or.
Yeah. So you still had a normal job and just did the chickens sort of on the side because
Mornings is, yeah, I had to drive off site because they obviously weren't at our house. We didn't have room to run chickens at our house. So I had to drive 20 minutes up to feed and water my chickens every morning. And then I'd go to work and I'd go home. I only saw them once a day because I didn't want to, like, I did the math and I thought, well, if I have to drive up there twice a day, I'm not going to make any money. And so I had it all worked out where I wanted to make money at this and I could only go there once a day. So if something happened, they're going to have to wait till tomorrow.
Too many people, when they talk about their business venture, don't factor in the time, and I'm glad that you factored in the time because that's a cost. How'd you keep them getting eaten? Remember, I had turkeys once on my little hobby operation, and my God, everything in their system, every species eats fowl. I mean, I saw weasels in my farmstead, and I'm like, hell, I've never even seen a weasel. I found one in my skunks, raccoons, possums, hawks.
Real fortunate in that our death loss is always under 1% a year on all batches. A lot of that, the first 2 years we ran them in like those, for lack of a better term, Salatin style pens. The little, close to the ground, 10-foot by 12-foot shelters, and you drag them forward 10 foot every day. And that pretty well keeps everything out of there. But then we went into like a kind of a modified day range sort of a system, as I would call it, where we put up electrified poultry netting around a certain area and then move their shelter a few times within that and move the whole thing once a week to kind of decrease some of the labor. And I talked to a couple of guys at a conference one time, and they were talking about if you ran your electric poultry netting in like a narrow rectangle, it would stop a lot of the swooping action. And we did that, and
Yeah.
never really had a problem. And I bought a little sickle mower so I could mow the shape of where the fence would go for the next move. So it was really close to the ground. So I didn't have any weeds shorting out my fence or anything. So never had any ground predators whatsoever come in. So,
And then the reason the taste, you're feeding them a little bit of grain, but they're also foraging. Is that why there's the
yeah,
argument on taste?
That's where I kind of diverge a little bit. I kind of learned the hard way about that, I guess, in like the dogmatic, some of those small egg groups that are like, you don't have to feed grain to livestock. Well, that's BS. I don't know if you can cuss on your podcast, so
Yeah, you can.
I'll keep it blue, but it's complete bullshit. Chickens eat about as much grass as my dog does.
Yeah.
They will eat some, but there's a lot of bugs and
They
there's a
eat
lot of
bugs
stuff.
and worms.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you've got to make sure there's bugs and worms there, and that's why so they do get bugs and worms, but they also get.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know if we ever really, I did some math on, how much we supplemented with grain, and it really was it was probably less than 20% that we would supplement off of it. But they do eat some grass. I mean, they will peck at it, and what that does is it changes the color of their fat from that, really like white in the grocery store to like a yellowish, it looks healthier, really. I mean, it really makes a nice product.
Yep. All right. I want to hear about how the operation looks today and what you're doing and how it's and the numbers, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
Before we do that, I want to remind you right now about my good friends at Tidal Grow. That's right. Sponsor here for 2026. If you've ever seen me speak on stage, I talk a lot about the Asians impacting the future of agriculture, things like innovation, inflation, regulation, population, and so many other Asians. Well, let's talk about frustration. If you're a farmer, you know what I'm talking about. The frustration of paying for inputs that you don't get paid back for. If you're looking for cutting-edge bio-based solutions that truly deliver measurable yield performance with a great ROI, take a look at Tidal Grow Agriscience. They're a new sponsor here for me this year, and I got to tell you, I did a field day with them at my farm last year. We did trials. Really impressive stuff. Tidal Grow utilizes upcycled seafood byproducts to formulate powerful plant nutrition and crop protection chemistry. You heard that right. This is seafood byproducts, not seaweed. This is real science powered by nature, built to positively impact your bottom line. The products from Tidal Grow do not require you to reinvent the wheel. They integrate right into your existing production practices to optimize current fertilizer and crop protection programs. This is about getting more out of what you're already doing. You want to learn more about this? Go to Tidal Grow Ag. That's Tidal, Tidal, Grow, AG.com. TidalGrowAg.com. Tell them Damian sent you. All right, so from chickens to where are you now?
So chickens,
in-laws and saying, hey, dad-in-law, just let me farm this ground over here.
Yeah, we ended up finding a spot, some friends that were a little closer to home in the second year. So we were only on my in-laws' place for a year, for one batch. That's all we ever ran out there. Found some friends close to home. They had this little scrubby 1 acre little pasture that was good for nothing, and they let me run my chickens on that. And that's where the land where I was really starting to like, okay, what else could I be doing with this? I mean, I got 1.5 acres here. What else could we be doing? And I was looking at other livestock. And then, like I say, we stumbled on the work of like some of these YouTube guys that were really preaching about, microgreens and market gardening. And I'm like, to me, that all seemed pretty small ball shit. And I kind of didn't really have much interest in it at first. And then I started really keeping more of an open ear to what they were talking about and kind of seeing the numbers behind like what you could do on a small scale with like high value, high rotation, high demand vegetables.
Right.
I thought, okay, well, here we go. This could be my answer. And it would fit onto this 1 acre pretty well. I mean, we wouldn't have to use the whole 1.5 acres for it, but we could run the chickens over here and do the garden over there. And, why not? Let's give it a shot. And so we did sort of that in 2017. And we did, at the end of the year, we looked at the numbers and I was like, holy shit, we did way better with the garden stuff, and it was easier to sell. There was a lot less red tape as far as like government, regulations and inspections.
Red tape, like for chickens, you had to.
Yeah, in Iowa, there was like the, there's like you got to have to take them to a state inspected place if you're going to sell them in like at a farmer's market or
Yeah,
something
okay.
like
They have to
that.
be killed and processed at some place that has
Yeah, you
certain
can do them on
accreditation.
farm up to like 999, but they have to be sold off farm. And I wanted to kind of keep my options open, even though we really never even sold them in any of those channels that would have
Yeah,
required it.
right.
But anyway, after about 1,200 or 1,500 chickens, now you have to get license and inspections and blah 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 blah. And I had no interest in any of that. So, and just the vegetables sort of kind of fit our lifestyle a little bit better too. My wife was never that. Well, she's not really involved with the vegetable stuff either, but she was really not into the chicken thing all that much. And so,
But she's not
uh,
involved in the farming biz.
no, she has an off-farm job.
Okay.
I always say she has her job, I have my job. So she's supportive of it, and she does a little background work with it, but she's never really been involved with the farm much.
Got
So,
it.
and we'll talk more about the numbers later, I guess. But we're not any different than a lot of other small business. Without her job, we wouldn't have insurance.
Right.
There's I don't hide behind that at all. That's a reality in any small business. It's not just farming.
I'm a small business person for 32 years, from political comedy to the speaking business to writing books to producing this show. And the one thing I can tell you that that insurance, if Mrs. Mason had an off-farm job, it'd be a hell of a big benefit for that right there. So I understand. So
Yeah.
your epiphany then was, man, all right, chickens were fine, but I really think that the future is going to be in this. So you're still doing this on an acre of one of your buddies, or where is this happening?
So in 2018, my wife's kind of saw the potential of it, and she said, you know what, we were looking for a different place for the last since about 2015, we've been looking for an acreage, looking for a bigger place so we could move the farm and live where we farmed and not have to drive somewhere.
Yeah, right.
Do it. And, the reality in Iowa, and it's even worse probably today, is you can't really find a lot of acreages anymore that would accommodate like a small farm. We found a lot of different we kind of drew a circle around like the Mason City, Iowa area in about a 50-mile radius and said, if we can find a couple acres and a house that's even sort of livable, we'll look at it. And we could either we never could find the right mix. It was either we could find a house that was great and the land sucked, or the land was great and the house was like, we'd have to just start over.
Yeah.
And we couldn't find that great mix. And once we decided to sort of like get rid of the chicken business after 2017, when we ran the market garden and the chickens in tandem, and we looked at those numbers, and we decided, you know what, sayonara chickens, like it's garden here on, like we're just going to focus on that. And so my wife actually gave her blessing in 2018. She said, well, if we find a place, we kind of found a place, our current place now. And, it had it's an acre of land, but our house and our shop and everything take up about a half that. So we have about a half an acre of yard on the side of the property. And I thought, hey, that's perfect, because all these YouTube guys I'm watching are talking about how you can do it on a quarter acre. So if I got a quarter acre of land, I can drop my vegetables on. I got some indoor growing space for microgreens. I'm happier to plant.
So that's what you honest to God, were doing this on less than a half acre.
Oh, quarter acre. Yeah. The numbers really, if you're not, this will kind of blow some people's minds really, but, and this is not hard to do, but you can really fairly easily achieve about $60,000 an acre in equivalent, or like we were doing 60,000 on a quarter acre with microgreens, with some indoor growing and, a high tunnel and some little bit of season extension, high value crops, lettuce, small roots, stuff like that, high demand stuff. We weren't growing onions, potatoes, sweet corn, any of that stuff. High value, quick return, multiple cuts off of stuff, quick, multiple bed turns. It's very, very possible. It's actually not that hard to hit those kind of numbers.
Okay.
We did it in a very small town.
Yeah, multiple bed turns, and then you talk about multiple cuts. You're. It's pretty intensive. I mean,
Very intensive. Yeah, yeah.
as opposed to field corn or whatever.
We
You're out there.
we
You're touching it.
yeah, it's boots on the ground, hands in the dirt, a lot of hand tools at that scale. Yeah, yeah. So we did that for 2 years, and it just so happens in this tiny little town, Mitchell, where we live, it's 124 people. I just got voted as mayor a month ago, by the way, so I'm actually the mayor of the town now. But there's a Thursday night group of guys. I've talked about this on Twitter a ton, and I've talked about it on other podcasts, and it's just part of the story. But there's a bunch of these old guys that get to, well, a couple guys around my age, but there's a group of guys that get together every Thursday in some guy's shop or garage in the center of town, and they have beers every Thursday all year long. And my neighbor come over, it was like 2019, and he said, hey, nice to meet you. We have this Thursday thing if you ever want to stop by sometime. Hey, I like beer. Why not? I'll go over there. So I walked down there and started having beers with these guys. Well, they're like, oh, are you that crazy guy that tilled up his half of his yard and is growing like vegetables in it or something? I said, yeah, that's me. And they all got a kick out of it or whatever. The relationships just developed. And in 2020 or 2021, one of them said, hey, I got this little 2-acre field behind the house. It's like a block from your place. If you want to do something with it, I'm tired of mowing it. Go ahead. What the heck? Now I got 2 acres. That's great. Yeah. So we farmed that for 4 years and paid zero rent on it. Just we gave him some produce and had some beers, and it was a great relationship. And then through more of those relationships, we found this 5 acres. So it was all through beer that we've been able to scale up.
So the thing is infrastructure. I mean, water, facilities, etc. So somebody says, "Hey, there's 2 acres that I'm mowing. I'll just let you have it." That's fine, but you got to get irrigation because especially crops and
yeah. So we had to get we had to get creative there. And what we ended up doing for irrigation was my neighbor had 1,000-gallon water tank. And we thought, well, if we could fill that thing up, well, just so happen we're in the middle of town here, by the way. And again, our town's only 124 people, so it's not like we're in the middle of a big city. I mean, we're in big lots. The houses are a little spread apart. There's some room in this little town. Just next to that field was another neighbor that had a hydrant in his backyard. So go knock on his door, and I bring a case of Busch Light with me. And I said, hey, would you mind if I ran a hose from your hydrant to fill this water tank up? And it's going to take about 20 or 30 fills a year. So it's a lot of water. He says, oh yeah, we got plenty of water. Just go ahead. I said, well, do you want anything for it? And he, oh, no, just give me a beer once in a while. Now we got irrigation water. So we put a little trash pump by the 1,000-gallon water tank. And then we just ran 3/4-inch orchard tubing all around the field and created zones. And so we had water on demand anytime we wanted it.
All right. So you're doing this literally on land that's not even yours, and it was land that wasn't even being used for agricultural intent for the most part.
It had been corn, and that 2 acres had been a cornfield prior to my neighbor buying it 10 years ago.
Right.
So it had kind of just sat vacant since he had bought it. And so it had been, I mean, imagine what that looks like with nothing been growing on. It was just a weed patch, so we had to go in there and rehab it a little bit, but we got it looking pretty good after about the third year. So,
okay. So what do you own in way of machinery?
We've scaled up now this last couple of years, going to that 2 acres. That's getting a little bit out of the hand tool, scale.
Right. So we got into utility tractors.
Yes, no, we don't need. Well, we just got 2 old tractors this year. I can talk a little bit more about that. But my neighbor with the 1,000-gallon water tank had 2. He has a Coyote tractor and a little John Deere 1055. And he just let me use that whenever I wanted to. So it really helped not having to buy that, any of that equipment and have it depreciating on my balance sheet. He's a retired guy that just loved using those little tractors. So I'm like, let him do it. And you pay him a couple bucks or buy him a beer once in a while. And he was happier than anything about that. So any field work I needed done, I just call him and say, hey, this section needs this and that for any of the field, cultivation or, bed prepping that we needed to do. And then we got into two-wheel tractors like like a BCS tractor. We have a Grillo.
I don't know what those. I don't know what that is.
They look like a tiller on steroids.
Okay.
They're like two wheels with a handlebar,
Yeah.
but they have like a PTO on it, so you can flip the handlebars around one way or the other. So if you're doing soil working, you can go behind it like a tiller would be, or if you're doing like mowing or snow blowing or wood chopping or haymaking.
In front of it.
I mean, there's 150 different implements you can get for these things. Anything
my.
from soil working, mowing, haying equipment. There's a mini balers you can get on these things. Wood. It's amazing what you can get for them. BCS is like the main brand. It's kind of like BCS is kind of like the Kleenex. Everybody calls these things like a BCS tractor, even though there's different brands of them.
All right, so you own
everybody
some
calls
of
them
those.
BCS.
Yeah, this is obviously still labor intensive because it's specialty crop.
Yeah, but it's kind of fun labor as opposed to like when the crew would show up. We started getting employees around 2020, one or two of them part time. And back before we got those walk behind tractors, it was like, okay, everybody grab a hoe. We got to go save a bed of carrots because they're getting weedy. And it was like, now we're out there for 5 hours hoeing. Where with the BCS tractor, we can, at walking speed or jogging speed, go out there and start cultivating. And so it actually turned into like, well, who gets to cultivate or go weed today versus you got to go cultivate. Yeah. So
you're obviously not no-till. You still do a fair amount of cultivation.
We do a lot of cultivation. We don't do any rotary tilling. Haven't really done that ever. But we do. We power harrow.
The rotary tilling, the argument against that is, and it's very traditional. Like I was raised at we had an acre garden, and you went there and beat the hell out of it with a rotary tiller every week. Beats the shit out of your soil structure.
Oh yeah, and actually the action of it tilling isn't what really does it. It's that it throws it up underneath the hood and just pulverizes it into moon dust. That's the part of vertical rotary tiller that is the worst part of it. Is actually the smashing of it up underneath of the hood. So we invested into a power harrow, which is like an egg beater type of an action versus a vertical tillage, and a flail mower. So we own those two pieces for the walk behind tractor, and then we got a walk behind a Planet Junior tractor, which is from 1949, but I put a new engine on it. And that thing you can set up with modern like cultivation equipment. So it doesn't pull, it just pulls. You don't get a reverse on it. You don't get multiple speeds. You're either going or you're not going. And it goes pretty quick. And you can set that up with all sorts of shovels, knives, any kind of knife or a finger weeder, anything you can put on like a toolbar on the back of a four-wheel tractor, you can put on these things on a two-wheel system. And so that effectively eliminated any kind of hoeing that we've had to do for 5 years.
Planting is done by, do you have mechanical planters for this? Because especially crop okay.
Yeah, we have we kind of got out of direct seeding mostly. So I had a couple push seeders we used in the early years, but then we went into like a paper pot transplanter. I don't know if you've ever seen that gizmo. I don't know how to describe it. And I could pull up a picture, but it'd take me too long to find it. But it's essentially like this long orange trolley. It was invented in Japan, I think in the 60s or 70s. And you plant your seeds into like typical like garden trays, like the cell trays you'd see in like a greenhouse. Yep. It looks sort of like that, except for it's a paper honeycomb looking thing in a plastic tray. You fill it with soil just like you do with your normal, seed starting. You put your seeds into the honeycombs, let them grow up in, a week or 2 or 3. And then you take that tray out to the field on this long orange it's like a long caddy looking thing with a handlebar. You load that thing on there, and the honeycomb is a paper chain that unfurls down into the ground. And so you can transplant as fast as you can walk backwards. Mm-hmm. And it eliminates, the time it used to take us to hand transplant stuff was hours. And I could do the same amount of work by myself in 7 minutes, what it used to take 2 of us an hour and a half to do. So it was really a huge shift in our, to shift to that thing, plus like mechanical cultivation, mechanical bed turning and termination. Really the only hand labor we've done in the last 5 years, like at scale, is harvesting.
Yeah.
So everything else is mostly mechanical.
Yeah, I want to hear about how 2025 ended up, and then the look ahead at 2026. We'll do that. I want to talk to you. If you are in the business of agriculture, you need to know about nano yield products. Nano yield products like Nano Pro. These patented mineral-based nanoparticles go in the tank at just 4 ounces per acre. So this is for a production farmer. 4 ounces of nano yield products per acre in the sprayer tank. Act as a delivery system for your entire tank mix. Whether you're trying to improve weed control or boost your fungicide's performance or get more out of your nutrients, nano yield technology is an easy, affordable way to protect your investment and drive return on investment. Once growers see it work in the field, they don't spray without it. You insure your equipment. Why not insure your crop inputs? Nano Yield is family owned and proudly made in the USA. Learn more at Nano Yield's website. That's www.nano-yield.com. Nano, Nano-yield, like the yield sign. And also you can check out grower testimonials on YouTube. All right, so 2025, you had a total of about how many acres under cultivation?
5. So we moved onto this new piece of land in 2025, 5 acres. Now we had to rethink a little bit our tooling because, those walk behind tractors, you could still use them up to 5 acres, but it kind of resets the scale a little bit on labor hours. And so we actually started investing in old, really old equipment, like old, like 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s era, like farm equipment. I've got a 52 John Deere B and a 44 Farmall H.
Is this all just for the social media pictures? Because I would be out there with a modern piece of equipment because I have a modern Kubota that I think is better than anything I was raised driving.
It is. However, we've bootstrapped this operation. We've never taken any debt out on it up until buying this land. And so my premise is do as much as we possibly can, as simple as we possibly can, as cheaply as we possibly can.
I got that. So you own 5 acres now, and it's where?
The 5 acres is like a half mile from our house now, so it's just right now.
So are the 2 acres that your buddy was going to let you farm for?
We got rid of that. Another friend of his is putting hay on it now, so that's completely out of vegetable production in 2025.
Everything ended amicably, but you're just going to move on to your own.
Oh yeah. It was, hey, we got this opportunity, and that was kind of known ever like from the get go. Like, if he was ever going to sell it, he was going to. I mean, I wanted first crack at it, but if we were ever to move and scale up, we're still. We just had beers last week, so
there you go.
No hard feelings whatsoever.
So you're going to have this 5 acres all under cultivation, with the exception of the dividing and the drive paths and all that.
Yeah, okay. Which is not very much. We keep everything pretty tight.
This is a big expansion of the operation.
Yeah, it's over doubled our, so that's where we were, looking at like, okay, how can we handle 5 acres now with, we could go out there and take out a bunch of debt on some modern equipment, a new Kubota tractor. Yeah, that all sounds great, but I still don't really want that debt on my hand. And really, these tractors they're super easy to work on. You can still get parts on them. They're great for social media because everybody loves watching these old tractors work. And they're kind of fun they're fun. They don't have a cab and air conditioning, but we're not out on these things for hours and hours and hours a day. Like we need them for, half hour chunks of time,
sure.
We need to plant 6 rows of this and go do that.
Because is the other thing, Steve, you're planting, you don't plant like all in 3 days. You're planting throughout the season because you have to harvest and go and sell it. Plant, harvest, plant, harvest, plant, harvest, plant, harvest, weed, plant, harvest, weed. Because then you're trying to get, what are you shooting for? Like a 20-week season of selling?
52-week season.
How do you sell them fresh lettuce in January?
We have 8 greenhouses.
And are they on that 5 acres?
No. So 7 of them are on my property here. I got 2 across the street on another neighbor's property, and I have another one south of town about 7 minutes.
My God, you're all over the place. I mean,
We've taken
you're all within a couple of miles.
Yeah. And that was our, like I said, that's all of our strategy of, we've paid zero rent all these years. We were able to leverage any kind of like profit into, buying these greenhouses, which exponentially extend your season, thus your profitability.
Yeah.
There's a learning curve for how to use them. But every chance I got was, we need to buy another one. We need to get another one. And so we've been growing year round now since
You are right now. We are recording this at Christmas time. You are producing a crop this very second.
This very second. We'll harvest every week all the way through the year.
And the greenhouses, are they heated?
The two of them have some heat. One has traditional, the one that's in my backyard, just out my window here. That has a natural gas furnace in it. And then the one that's south of town, we got a geothermal system put into that one through a SARE grant in 2021.
And that's on someone else's property? Was it already
That's on
there?
somebody else's property. Yeah.
It was already there, and you just said, I'll start using it?
No, he had a really interesting situation. A guy, his name's Eric Jellum. We met at a brewery in Osage, which is just a few miles from here, in 2020, and we were having a couple beers. And he was.
I've noticed a lot of your business arrangements come up over beers, Steve.
It's either in a brewery or like nobody ever says that about guys doing business on a golf course. So why not?
You do better in a neighbor's garage drinking beer. Right?
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, we got to talking, and he says, I kind of heard about your operation. Sounds really cool. I got a geothermal corn drying bin that we just built a couple years ago, and I think we could maybe fashion that system into one of your greenhouses and do some minimal heating with it. I had no concept of what he was talking about. So I went down to his farm a short time later, and we started looking at it, and we ended up over the next year putting a temporary system into the greenhouse that's out my back window here using well water, kind of like a pump and dump system. And it worked really well. And that gave us the confidence to write a SARE grant. And we got the SARE grant, which allowed us to build a tunnel and outfit it with a homemade geothermal system.
Interesting. All right. So 2025, what did it look like?
2025, we increased sales. Where I don't have my numbers here. It made a big impact. We were able to expand. We have our marketing looks like basically 3 or 4 kind of channels. We have your typical farmers market. We still do 1 or 2 of those. We have our box program, like a CSA box program. We do.
So you got how many farmers markets?
2. Mason City and Clear Lake. 2 farmers markets.
Two farmers markets per week.
Summers, yep.
Okay, then what's in the middle of winter? There's no farmers markets.
No, I started a winter farmers market series in Mason City a couple years back, and we're expanding that now in 2025 to include the spring. So we'll have indoor farmers markets starting first weekend of March 2026. So we'll have farmers markets from early March all the way to December of 2026.
Understood.
And we have some employees that help me out with that too, so I don't have to be at all of them. But and then we built an on-farm store onto our shop. It's small; it's 12 foot by 24, so it's only a couple hundred square foot. We man that sort of a hybrid system. I don't really believe in self-serve. I could get into all that in a whole other episode, but we have somebody in there. And it's easy for us because it's attached to the shop and we're already in there doing work. So the doorbell rings, we just go in there and check them out and greet them and that kind of thing. So, and then we have our CSA. We have about, what do we have in 2025? About 80 members on our CSA this year.
And that stands for Community Supported Agriculture, by the way.
We don't call it that because nobody knows what the hell CSA is. We call it Farm Box. That's pretty intuitive.
And they just give you so much, like basically a subscription service, Steve?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they just pay you a certain amount per month, and then every week.
All up front. So we do an early bird campaign every October, and then we do a spring campaign to fill it up in February and March. So everything's prepaid, and then we're done selling them kind of for the year. So
and then they say, I'm going to give you what do they pay you? Like how much?
Well, we give them There's a lot of different ways to organize those CSAs. Some people do shares, and there's hundreds of different ways to arrange these. The way we do it is everybody gets the same contents, the same size box, but you can either choose weekly or a bi-weekly distribution, and that's really the only option that we give them. Keeps it easy for us. That way we know everybody gets the same thing. Whereas some farms have moved to like a free choice type of a deal. I don't know. It doesn't really fit us at the moment, but not to never say never, I guess. But
Okay. So, but you get it becomes a subscription, so
it's a subscription service. Yeah,
they pay you, and they get vegetables every week,
or biweekly, and they can also choose if they want. We kind of break it into seasonal sections too. So some people like the spring and the summer. Some people have their own gardens in the summer. They don't want the summer box, but they want the spring and the winter box. So we give them a little bit of optionality there, but everybody gets the same stuff mostly. And then we do a little wholesaling through some restaurants and grocery. That was really big in our early days. We've since COVID, we really have ticked down the amount of restaurants and grocery stores we service. We keep a little bit of, there's always those relationships. They're just super easy to work with. They'll take some stuff that nobody else wants, that kind of thing. So we keep a little bit of those relationships going, but it's such a small percentage of our business anymore. It's barely registers on the needle. So basically CSA, the store, and farmers markets are big ones.
So you just say, here's what we want to charge for this. You base it on grocery?
We base, like on all of our products, we base it off of our cost. And we used to look at what grocery prices were, but honestly, with the CSA boxes and the farmers market, nobody really looks at price too much. I can't even remember the last time at a farmers market I've had it over the years a couple times, but nobody. As long as it's kind of in the ballpark.
Yeah, if you were saying we want $10 for a head of lettuce, they'd say, "What the hell are you talking about?" But if you're at $2 or $2.49 or something, then it's
we're always evaluating our prices on stuff. We keep we time action. We do time and motion studies almost constantly. How long did it take us to harvest this bed of radishes? How much were we? What was our yield?
Are you going to tell me what gross revenue looks like for 2025?
We were at just at about 150,000.
Okay,
on 5 acres.
And you've got some $150,000 on 5 acres. Of course, there's greenhouses also. Mm-hmm. So you're a little off on saying it's just 5 acres because you also have greenhouses.
Well, that field's only about 4.85. So I call it a 5 acre field, but it's 4.85, and then a quarter acre at my place here is where most of the greenhouses are at.
Yeah,
and then that one south of town. So it's right at.
And you've got expenses on that. You hire some kids for seasonal help, and you've got some other things. So you're not getting rich.
We pay the bills. We have some profit.
Yeah.
We're happy.
Yeah. And and then for you to make more, because your expenses are, you've got minimal equipment and all that kind of thing, but you also are, you're building some buildings, doing all that thing.
Yep.
For you to grow that, is it more acres, more intensive? Or no, you probably already got enough capacity. It's more just the selling.
No, we didn't even really push the 5 acres to capacity this year. We kind of took it up.
Yeah.
We spread out a little bit. We could tighten that up a lot, which that's kind of our growth strategy for the next few years, is just to kind of tighten, the land usage up a little bit. And then there's always vertical, in the greenhouses, there's always vertical, there's value add, there's opportunities with our store, other people's products. I see some opportunity with, plant sales in the spring. We haven't even really gotten into there. And some farms, that's how they make their year. And we haven't even touched that yet. So there's a lot of, really, I think, I run the calculator across it. We were at about a $30,000 per acre gross, which I think we could double that.
Yeah.
Really.
And it's a matter of time. And then, obviously you don't want to work 200-hour weeks, but you could be doing some more stuff.
Right.
And so your stuff's not organic.
No, we don't certify. We practice as much as we possibly can. Uh, but, I like to keep some tools in my toolbox just in case.
Yeah. So if you need to use an insecticide, then you can. What
Yeah.
about the crop mix is mostly what?
Crop mixes, in those early years, it was just stuff we could fit on a quarter acre that didn't take up a lot of space and had a very short, date of maturity. If something took more than 40 days to get up to a harvestable state, I wouldn't even look at it. Even 30 was pushing it. But now, that's changed with going outward. Now potatoes, onions, sweet corn are big crops for us. So we really look at stuff that complements most, like, it gets a little tricky. You got to get to know what your customers like, and you got to make sure that you can move it in multiple different channels. So I look at what we can make a CSA box with first off, and then can I sell that at a farmer's market? And that kind of goes back and forth a little bit too on how we decide what we put in those boxes. But we try to make it very staple forward. If you get to know vegetable CSA programs at all, you'll see people putting in weird shit that nobody knows what to do with. Just
Right.
because they need like some options or whatever.
Yeah, right.
And so we've kind of narrowed it down to about 40 different crops, and we can shuffle those enough into those boxes so that we can put 6 or 8 different, up to maybe 9 different things in a box each week without getting it too repetitive. But there's some things like in the middle of summer, like a red slicing tomato. You could throw 2 red slicing tomatoes into a box every single week and nobody's going to complain because they can use 2 tomatoes every single week. So we try to keep it very staple forward, as I call it. And we like to throw a kohlrabi or something in there every once in a while just to kind of keep it interesting. And, there's some foodies in our mix that some culinary adventure. But mostly we try to shoot the middle. Tomatoes, green beans, sweet corn, potatoes, onions, lettuce, all the stuff you're going for the grocery store each week anyway. It's going to be in that box. But it's going to be fresher and better quality.
I'm a big fan of kohlrabi. It's my favorite vegetable.
So you're the one.
Yeah, a lot of people that still don't even understand what they are.
What's weird is I actually talked about kohlrabi a lot these last couple of years because prior to probably about 2 years ago, we grew it a little bit here and there. It grows quick. It's easy to grow. But only old people ever bought it. And I'm not picking on you, of course, but only old people at the farmer's market would ever buy kohlrabi. Something changed. I don't know if somebody did a TikTok dance or something a couple of years ago, but all of a sudden I got young people coming up looking for kohlrabi.
That's great.
And I thought, that's got to be a trend or something.
It stayed with it.
It's still going. We've sold more kohlrabi this year than we've ever had.
That's good for me because I like it.
It's crazy.
And you're inspiring me. I'll have to tell you all about this. So here's the deal. I just heard a bunch of things. So I asked the question when we started, can a small farm make it? Can a small farm succeed? How can you make a living on 5 acres? Okay, are you making $1 million net? No. But the point is, there's a lot of people that are farming 5,000 acres that are not making any more net than Steve Strasheim is on 5. And I think that's the important part here. Is this for everybody? Well, it's more labor intensive. I'm just going to go through the things that I gleaned right here. You use the heck out of relationships. You absolutely are over the top on not acquiring a bunch of debt to saddle yourself with. And that finally, when you did use debt, it wasn't for depreciating equipment. It was for some real estate.
Right.
And I'm just going to step on a limb here and say that 5 acres, you didn't go and drop $2 million on this 5 acres. So you're still even limiting your debt right there.
We got it at a very, very good price. Like,
obviously, you kept looking at cost and sales and cost and sales.
Yes.
And I didn't hear you say, and the problem is we expanded so much. We dumped 19 truckloads of stuff that we spent the money to produce and couldn't figure out a way to sell it. You're wasting almost nothing. And
that's the beauty part of like a farmer's market or a CSA sort of, and just getting to know like how much people want. You can really do the math fairly easily. I mean, I've said this whole time when it comes to like market gardening, any dummy can grow you a truckload of lettuce. That's really not that hard. It's what do you do with it once you have it? And
So
that's where,
there you go. There's the other part of it is I heard you talk about the gauging it and then selling it and selling it. And also there's a certain amount of marketing. And then of course your other big tip is you use relationships and you expand as you could, and then you did the greenhouse thing to give you seasonal. That way, you're not sitting there for 4 months with no income. And the most important lesson I think I got out of this was get together with guys and drink beer.
well, I highly recommend it. You never know what'll happen. But that's the thing about direct to consumer. I think that gets lost in some of these conversations that you see on like Twitter and podcasts and stuff. Is some guys are. It's kind of funny. 10, 12 years ago, I mean, I got on Twitter in 2009, and I remember very vividly in that like 2014, 15 era, and there was a lot of people that were, poo-pooing small egg and,
Yep.
we got to feed the world and all
Yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff. And some of those same people now are coming around to, like, the Farm Bureau here in Iowa is a perfect example. In 2015, you couldn't have found anything to do with local food marketing or direct to consumer, anything like that coming from the Farm Bureau. And now they got gobs of, they're trying to, reintroduce that into the curriculum or something. I see a lot more of it coming out of the Farm Bureau. And it was sort of like, it was too small ball for some people. They weren't taking it seriously. And now some people are they're almost getting pushed into it because there's just no other option.
Well, that's exactly right. It's what's economically viable, and that's always been the thing. Well, okay, somebody with an acre of stuff is viable. Many are not. Many are just stupid hobbies. I want to be an organic arugula producer and go out and do all this and my Birkenstocks and take pictures. That's not economically viable. We've gone through your thing again and again. That's why I asked you about the numbers. You were very forthright in sharing those numbers. You got a website?
twistedriverfarm.com. No S on farm. twistedriverfarm.com.
He's going to have to put an S on it because he's got more and more and more of these operations.
I should have years ago.
Yeah. All right.
But Nora, where I was going with that real quick, just to make one last quick little point about that direct to consumer stuff is, I think that gets missed in a lot of these conversations is it is not if you build it, they will come. You can't put a little stand out on the road and you might sell a couple things, but the work in this business is not necessarily the harvest and all that. It's creating those relationships, keeping in front of people, getting out in the community, talking to people, which, a lot of farmers just want to sit in the tractor and listen to Netflix or whatever the hell they're doing in there, these things with all these monitors they got in there now. And I'm not picking on them, but like, a lot of them are doing that because they don't like to talk to people. And so I think one of the things that I would always like to mention and push to the front of that conversation is you got to talk to people and you got to like sort of, to talk to people. And, you see that farmers markets, newbies drop in and, they sit in the chair with their sunglasses on. They don't engage their customers. They don't put a table. I mean, there's just all sorts of things that they're doing wrong because they think all I got to do is throw it on a table and somebody should buy it. And that's just nothing can be further from the truth.
It does play a little bit into that whole thing of I worked today. I farmed so you could eat. So thank me.
Right.
Well, that might have worked 150 years ago and we still had a food shortage. But this whole thing of you farmed and I should thank you, that ain't going to work. And ain't going to work in a direct to consumer business environment.
No. And there's a lot of competition out there too. I mean, I sort of see both worlds because I spend so much time on Twitter and I kind of see more of the big egg side of that, world from there. But then I also see a lot of, the small egg stuff off of Twitter. And there's a lot of small egg out there that I think a lot of big egg guys don't even realize that's out there. And there's a lot of competition out there and you better be savvy.
Yeah, and that's what I heard you doing. All right. His name is Steve Strasheim. If you want to find out more about it, Twisted River Farm is the website, and you can find him on Twitter. That's where I found him, and I appreciate being on here, man.
Facebook and Instagram, too, so if you want to see some pictures of us, you can go right over there, too.
And those old vintage tractors that should be in parades or in antique malls instead, but I won't talk them off of that.
They're working. They're getting out of retirement.
They're
Coming back to work.
they're useless relics of a bygone era. We'll
Not
disagree.
useless when you put them back to work and you can make.
Anyway, his name's Steve. I'm Damian. Thanks so much for tuning in here for this special episode of this show. And you know what? As you know, and always, this is the Business of Agriculture. Well, thank you for tuning in to the Business of Agriculture. If you're planning a 2026 agricultural meeting or even getting a jump start on 2027, please consider putting me on stage. Almost 32 years now that I've been traveling around North America hopping on stage. If you put me on stage at your meeting, I promise I'll bring insights, outlook, and a dose of entertainment to help your people navigate a rapidly changing business of agriculture. Thank you so much for your consideration.